Hello, hello, my friends. It is Hondo, and welcome back to the Knights of the Nerd Republic. You know what to do, and stay profitable.
The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Hello there, and welcome back to Knights of the Nerd Republic, the show where your favorite nerds talk all about the galaxy far, far away. I am your host, Jared the Dark Jedi Bachman Stubbs, and joining me this week is the one-eyed knight, the Italian stallion, the lore keeper himself. We got Connor Chiquiti.
What's up, everyone?
It's
The
Himmy
nicknames kill me
Neutron.
every time.
I know, I love it every time. Love
Wait,
it.
Jimmy Neutron?
Himmy.
Oh, Himmy Neutron. I was like, Jimmy?
No,
It's like, that's a throwback of a show.
No, yeah, I would say you don't have the chocolate wisp haircut.
Yeah.
It's also it's going to be a good episode because we got the Mando himself, Spencer Simpson.
I got to break the fourth wall for a second here. Are we 100% sure that the intro played after the Hondo thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Because I've never been on a StreamYard cast on this end of it before. Like I haven't remoted into an episode since before our video
since
our
during
AV
COVID.
days. So I'm just like the part where it's usually and then Joel starts talking. No, I saw you full screen with your microphone muted, and you were kind of like bebopping a little bit. So I was like, okay, clearly there's something going on. But I was just, I put it in the chat. I'm like, I don't hear any intro music. Is it going? Or
this is going to be a really funny episode. I will go back and watch this before this gets uploaded. We will throw to our guest, our distinguished guest. Whenever I saw the names of the two-parter for this week, I thought we were going to be seeing one of his favorite characters. So I naturally invited him to be on, and then we didn't see Crosshair. But you know what? A lot of this episode, this two-parter was about. It was about the Imperial Senate. So from the Imperial Senate podcast and Casterly Talk, Mr. Nicky Kumar.
What is up, guys?
Hey, Nicky. Welcome.
What's up, Nicky?
Nicky, you be the tiebreaker here. Did you hear and see the intro music?
I heard and saw the intro music.
Okay.
I was going for it.
I am so... I now want to know how Spencer's breaking into StreamYard and just watching me dance during the intro.
Who knows what else I've seen you do when you leave your laptop open?
Yeah. Oh, no. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the clone conspiracy and Truth and Consequences. But before we do that and jump into this incredible two-parter we got from the Bad Batch this week, very excited to talk about it. A brief word from our lovely sponsors at Sunday's Bloody Mary. You guys know the drill by now. SundaysBloodyMary.com has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the galaxy. They have their 2-time award-winning spicy Caesar mix, my personal favorite. And they also have their mild and traditional mixes if the spice is not for you. Traditional mix is also their vegan-friendly mix. They also have some pretty cool garnishes like their pickled dilly bean, okra, and asparagus, as well as some rim salt if you're feeling gnarly. They also have their cute tomato-themed Bloody Mary merch. So going over to sundaysbloodymary.com/shop, use code TNAP, TNAP at checkout. Get 10% off your order, and you help out your favorite nerds while you do it. Nicky, as our guest, I'm going to throw to you first, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Thoughts on this incredible two-parter? We're going to talk about both episodes kind of in the aggregate.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, thoughts on this wild two-parter?
Yeah, first of all, I love when the Bad Batch gets to structure episodes this way. We saw it with the Ryloth stuff last season, where it's like they sort of set the table with a situation, and then the second episode is now how does the batch work into this? And very different to Poker Face, but since Poker Face is happening right now, it sort of reminds me similarly in how sort of the scene is set, and then it's like, and how did Charlie play into this? So it's a fun formula. I wish they get to do it more, but I think it's sort of reserved for longer stories. But yeah, in general, it was awesome. It was really just one of those episodes that kind of had everything that I think Star Wars and specifically animation is so good at. They hit every kind of emotion. There's action beats, there's terror beats. It's like part political thriller. It's a spy, like, movie. It's a special forces, mission. It's got the heart. Yeah, it's got the heart of the Star Wars family that we always, attribute to these great stories, and people have to make choices, and it's one of those things where it really felt like it had everything. It felt like a really pure, holistic Star Wars experience.
I could not agree more with everything you just said. I've said before, the Bad Batch on the whole has not been my favorite Star Wars series. I don't dislike it, but it's certainly not like my cup of tea for the most part. I do like a good deal of the characters. Love Crosshair, especially. But this season as a whole, I've enjoyed a lot more than the first season so far. And I think a lot of it has to do with, like we always talk about, like expectations, how one's expectations of something can override their ability to process what they're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And how I went into the first season of The Bad Batch kind of expecting every episode to kind of be what we got in this two-parter. So after I kind of got that funk and got that out of my system and got to fully experience this new season so far, like again, appreciating it as understanding it to be Star Wars the A-Team, fully appreciating Star Wars A-Team so far this season, and then boom, getting hit with this story that is 100% about the Imperial transition, 100% about all of the conspiracies that are layered on top of each other that facilitates the very existence of the Galactic Empire. Like, this is what I came for, and holy shit, did it deliver. I just, jaw in my lap the entire time. There are a lot of really cool decisions made over the course of this two-parter. Some stuff that is, like you said, like there's like some legitimate like terror, really chilling stuff in these two episodes. I'm really excited to talk about that. Spencer.
Yeah. So a lot of Bad Batch so far to me, with a couple of exceptions, has felt like the same vibe that I got from like seasons 1 and 2 of Clone Wars, where it was like, yeah, this is like a Star Wars show, and we're gonna have some cool characters and some cool stories, but it's gonna be really mild. Like, it's gonna be very predictable a lot of the time, and we're not gonna get into too much of the high-minded storylines and stuff. But then in Clone Wars in like season 3 and onward, you get into like political terrorism and like, even though some of the political storylines in Clone Wars are kind of dry, I still think it's vital that they're in there. And we get to deal with some of these, like it's those kind of arcs from season 3 mostly onward, where it goes from being like, yeah, this is a kids TV show set in the Star Wars universe, and now it's like, this is just a show set in the Star Wars universe. Like, there's nothing kid friendly about this to a point. You get to a certain point, and part of that has to do with the kind of violence that they show, and like some of the really darker plot lines, but also part of that has to do with the level of just general maturity required to handle it. And politics especially is one of those that Star Wars in the later part of the Clone Wars did really well, where you get a lot of the intrigue and a lot of the conspiracy and a lot of the corruption with all of its nuance, like as much nuance as you could expect to get in a TV show, or even like not just a Star Wars TV show, like Madam Secretary level, designated survivor level, political conspiracy and corruption and intrigue in a Star Wars show. And so what the last 2 episodes of Bad Batch season 2 have been to me so far is like a reminder. It's like, this is the kind of stuff we got when the Clone Wars TV show was at its best. And like Jared was saying, like, I kind of expected a lot of what Bad Batch was promising it would be to be like, we're going to continue on with this same kind of storytelling idea, but with this specific set of characters. And I think they did a lot of things really, really, really well in these 2 episodes that they could have just really easily taken the first idea that was voiced in the room and somebody been like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that. But they like took the time to say like, but what else could we do here? And here's some more ideas, some more thoughts. The first thing that comes to mind is the clone assassin.
Yes.
I was like, until the moment that he took his little electro suicide pill and died, I was convinced it was going to be some transitional period Boba Fett. I was convinced it was going to be some transitional period Boba Fett. Absolutely convinced. And I'm glad, because it was kind of his MO. You would expect that to be his MO for about this time. But I'm glad that they took it a different direction. And now we have an added layer of nuance to the post-Republic, early Imperial clone situation, where you've got a literal spectrum of response to it. You've got the Bad Batchers and you've got Rex, who are like, what's going on here is wrong. And part of that is due to the fact that they were fortunate enough to have their chips removed. But you even see earlier in this season, you see clones like Cody, who executed Order 66, who drank the Imperial Kool-Aid and got the new paint job on their clone armor and are like doing the whole Imperial thing, that are starting to say like this is starting to just, it's giving me a weird vibe, all the way up to people like Crosshair, who are like, I'm in it. Like, it might have worked out differently if my family had my back, but here we are. This is the family I'm choosing because it's the only family I had at the time. And then you like go to the far end of that spectrum where you've got like the radical Imperials where, oh, what does he say? What does he say? Like, I'm a believer.
He's a believer.
Yeah, I'm a believer. And it reminded me, and in my head, like the moment was kind of ruined because I thought about like Indiana Jones, a Temple of Doom, when he's like, no, Dr. Jones, you will become a true believer. And he gives him like the Kali sleep of death or whatever. But I love the fact that we're getting tons and tons of nuance on the spectrum of response to the new Empire within the clone ranks. And I'm going to pass things off for now because I've been rambling. But
no, I agree completely. And once we get out of just the overall thoughts, I really want to dive into the clone assassin, because I've seen some really cool speculation floating around that I want to hop right into. Connor, your thoughts, buddy?
Shit was dope, man. Like, it felt very Clone Wars in the best way possible, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed seeing Senator Chuchi again. Seeing her play a pretty central role in these 2 episodes. The fact that Palpatine pretty much outsmarted everybody. Like, I know Palpatine has done evil stuff. We've all seen it in the 9 movies, in the books, in the comics, and the shows. This felt especially evil for me. I don't know why. I think it was because of the 2 episodes, and I was under the impression that, like, okay, cool, the Bad Batch are going to do it. They're going to get it. The legislation's not going to pass. And then Palpatine comes up, and I'm like, fuck! It just, like, the rug was just ripped out from under me, and I was like, fuck this guy. Especially. Like, that was one of the top, that was, right now at least, one of the top 5 evil things Palpatine has ever done. But it felt so Machiavellian. It was such a masterclass. But yeah, these 2 episodes were phenomenal.
I think in large part, a lot of that was bolstered by it being Ian McDiarmid's one of his finest Palpatine performances. Like not even just for like voice like work, like just in general. Like he brought it big.
Yep.
There is there's a reason why the thumbnail for this episode is Palpatine. Clickbait, but also like it's just so bone chilling. Like because we know from the trailer we'd see Sidious. And we're like, oh, we're on course, and I'm like, oh no, and we keep getting these establishing shots of the Senate building, and I'm like, come on, any minute now, any minute, and I'm like mentally preparing for it, and I've seen a lot of people talking about like the way that Sidious as a master planner is often discussed is they talk about him like people talk about Sidious and his knack for grand plans the way that people erroneously talk about Batman. And that, yes, Batman is capable of like playing like 35D chess, and all of these wild, contingency plans and stuff. And Spencer's currently being jammed by the Empire.
How could they be jamming us? They don't know that we're podcasting.
It's an audio track. But yeah, no, but so like Sidious like talking through, and it's not just him like, oh, like, yeah, because like the Bad Batch are talking about like, oh, we played right into his hands. Like, no, like you did the right thing. And then Sidious found a way to, in the words of the great American poet Missy Elliott, put the thing down, flip it, and reverse it.
The man's adaptable, if nothing else.
He is adaptable, if nothing else. Like it's one of my favorite things about The Rise of Skywalker. Looking back on it, like I remember one of like the main critiques being like, well, what's his plan? Does he want to kill Rey? Does he want to use Rey? Is he going to betray Kylo? His plan is, I want a younger host.
Mm-hmm.
I'll let them duke it out, and I'll take whoever wins because they're clearly the stronger one.
Right.
And whichever one shows up is who I'm going to mac at.
Yeah.
Kylo
I always
Ren
think of
shows
that.
up. Yeah.
I always think of that in terms of there's often a lot of discussion about like, did he actually get beat by Mace Windu, or did he like kind of throw the fight to be vulnerable? Blah,
he got beat. Like,
okay, but I'm just saying, does it actually matter? Like, it doesn't really, because it's like he knows all the pieces he's put in place, and he knows he can swing the situation.
I mean,
like,
although I wonder if he did. I don't think he knew about Anakin. That's the thing.
Oh, I think he did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
In the name of keeping this episode on target, we're going to avoid a topic that is worthy of its own episode.
We do that at least every episode here, as we say, let's table that for a different episode.
Yeah, that'll be a topic episode during the week and a half where there isn't a TV show coming out. But it is that like cardinal adaptability of Emperor Palpatine that is just so sinister and so freaky. Like it's just so scary. And, the other night I was on Bombadcast talking about this two-parter, and I'll reiterate what I said there, that like the trick of any fascist regime, but especially one that takes so many cues from Nazi Germany, is the very idea of, Hitler did get elected, and it is that moment where you have a galaxy that has dealt with a state of conflict for decades, pre the Clone Wars, events like the Naboo crisis that we see in the Phantom Menace are not rare. They're a dime a dozen. So you have events like that happening constantly. And then the galaxy is at full blown war. And then they all lose their faith in one of their, proudest institutions, being the Jedi. And it's just catastrophe after catastrophe after catastrophe. Almost all of it planned, all of it staged, all of it, being a false flag, being like the machinations of the Emperor, so that he can come into a Senate hearing when seemingly everything just blew up in his face to say, yeah, this is really bad. And Admiral Rampart is going to be, we're going to throw him in a hole and throw away the hole. But this is also proof that the clone troopers will follow any order they're given, and we need to push this legislation through right now, later. Like,
absolute masterclass.
Yeah, like, and everybody in that room is terrified of him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, as they should be. Like,
yeah, but they don't even, but they don't know how terrified they should be.
Yeah.
Like they don't realize he is
mystery
the
of the
most
unknown.
powerful dark wizard in the galaxy. They don't know that.
And
they
it's
just
still the
know
body.
That's what
it's still the
Palpatine
body
is.
of thunderous applause.
Yeah,
there's still that. There's
Oh
still
my
them too.
God, Nicky,
Yeah.
that was so well put. They're still the body of thunderous applause. God damn. Oh, no, where's my cursor at? Nicky Kumar.
Dog.
Oh, damn.
I didn't expect that. I should have.
Sensational.
Spencer was here, so I had to make sure sensational came through. So that's it. I did a little top. What?
No, I just said my guy.
Oh, okay, cool. I got nervous that there was more of a delay there than I thought there was. But with the clone assassin, I want to jump right into, and I'm going to immediately ape from a friend of the show, Alex Damon, Star Wars Explained. I think he is super onto something with his idea that this is this is like the phase 0 Dark Trooper. Between the unique armor, the line of dialogue about like you not being a trooper, him not having like a number or a code, and his fanaticism, because like even the clones who are down with the cause still don't have that kind of like twisted look in their eyes. Even Crosshair is super cold about it. Like we've never seen the clones be malicious. Even at their most like malevolent during Order 66. At no point do we see like a Palpatine or Tarkin-esque like destroy them type mood from like Jesse or whatever. It's always a very cold, good soldiers follow orders. It's just matter of fact and straightforward in execution, no pun intended. This guy, there was a
Sakura who just got fucking
whatever the reason behind that was. This guy, that intensity, that was so chilling. And I really do think check out Alex's most recent video on the Star Wars Explained YouTube channel. To anybody watching or listening. I think he's super onto something. I think that whatever is going on at Mount Tantus, this is involved and is going to pay off down the road because there's just no other explanation, in my opinion. He's not a clone. Like he's something else. Like clearly you're a Django lookalike, and again I was like, oh cool, like my gambit paid off with having Nicky on this episode because I thought it was Crosshair.
I'll tell you why it's not Crosshair. Man was taking too many shots and not hitting him.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I knew, because like the reticle comes and you're like, oh, someone's sniping. It's Crosshair o'clock, and then like he missed too many. I'm like, that's not Crosshair.
Well, that was the thing. I was like, oh, like is his Crosshair getting cold feet? Like that's what I thought we were getting at. Is it like his heart wasn't in it and that's why he was missing? Spencer, I saw a number of people also saying what you said, like, oh, it might be Boba. Like cool, we get now another suit of armor for Boba Fett. Which like not complaining. But yeah, I was super into what's going on with this this clone assassin. Spencer, I know you mentioned him by name while you were talking about your stuff. If you have anything else to say on that front, I want to expand on.
I mean, it checks out. Like the whole thing checks out, right? Rampart knows he has some loose ends, and when you're in Star Wars and you're a baddie and you have loose ends, you hire a bounty hunter. Like you hire someone to very discreetly take care of it in a very sinister manner. And like I was thinking about it because like we see like clearly somebody whenever Cade gets shot, we see like this isn't a clone. I can tell from the armor. He's got a clone-like build, but I can tell it's not clone armor. And so this is clearly a hired gun of some kind. This is clearly a mercenary. That is what, like, until the helmet comes out open and it's a clone, you're like, looks like a duck, talks like a duck, walks like a duck. That's a bounty hunter. And so I'm thinking, like, who would they use for the next like 5-10 minutes? I'm thinking, who, if I were writing this show, who would they use? I was like, the go-tos would be Cad Bane, but they just used him in Boba Fett, so probably I wouldn't go for that. You've got, a couple other options to throw out there, but I'm like, probably Boba. I mean, that's knowing how Filoni syndrome works. It's probably going to be Boba, even though Boba wasn't a Filoni character. They just can't help themselves by bringing in recurring, lovable characters. Be like, it's like the neighbor that pops in just to see how you're doing. At every stage along the way, we have to be like, what's Ahsoka up to? What is Rex up to at this point in the story? So I thought for sure it was going to be Boba, but I'm really, really, really glad that they didn't go with that, because like I said, it shows there is a spectrum that the clones are kind of falling into when it comes to this new world order. And some of them are really into it, like scarily into it. We've already seen the establishment of that, like a little electro cyanide capsule thing. I think that was a really cool move. It's just, there's so much they can do now. There's so much that could be done with the rest of the season and the rest of the series just from that one tiny little scene.
I agree completely.
Something cool about just the electrode thing, again, which tracks, I don't think it's an accident, is you get like who's in charge of the Dark Troopers in Mandalorian. It's Moff Gideon. What do Moff Gideon's boys use when they're not going to compromise information? The little electrode cyanide pill. And it's like, so now this guy's using it, and it has this big through line. And I think it's always one of those things too, where it's like Lucasfilm productions like are known to walk hand in hand. The best one so far being Rogue One and Rebels, the sort of later seasons, and how they were in production like together. And so when you think about what's in production together now, it's it's Bad Batch, it's Mandalorian. And I think to draw those parallels, to make these connections, to say, hey, maybe this is going on, I think is very smart. And it's just the way it all ties together. It's exciting, and I think it lends to fun things where you can be like, oh my gosh, is this the Dark Troopers, phase 0? And it starts like putting pieces together. So I think that's always just a super fun thing, and just how they craft these stories.
Absolutely. And again, like it adds to the terror of the Empire, like it has been like maybe a year max of like the capital G, capital E Galactic Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And we're already creating these like terrifying, like, Dark Troopers that, again, like flash back to season 2 of Mando, when Connor said, like the last weakness they removed was the man in the suit and turned them into battle droids. Dr. Pershing, for those of you who are new.
I was like, when did I say this?
Yeah, no, I was making a joke that you play Dr. Pershing.
I mean, yeah,
but like, it's just, but it is so true of the Empire, and there's just so much of like the juiciest, best Star Wars politics, like politicking in Star Wars here.
And like, I think another thing with it being so Empire, it's like that's what the Empire is. That's what they do. They bastardize the good in things. So it's like, what happens when they get control of the clone troopers? They take all the colorful things that differentiate them, they wipe them off, they turn them all white, pristine. Again, like in the Clone Wars, if you were shiny, what were you? You were inexperienced.
Yeah,
you were nobody. You hadn't earned your honor yet on the battlefield. Now shiny is the standard now in the Empire, right? It's like shiny is what they want all the armor to look like. And so it's always this thing. It's like, can we dehumanize these soldiers? Yes. Can we strip away every notion of brotherhood, of identity, of the fact that we're human, and now make these clones that are, just they can do anything by the sound of it, hired gun in any way, for who we also don't know. And because also Rampart's like, I was following orders, so it's like, who's he taking orders from? And and then I think it's one of those, it's a scary thing, because it does also link back to, I think, a lot of sort of things that were hinted in season 1 of, like, they wanted the batch sort of back. I think, like, they wanted something, the Kaminoans wanted something from them still. And this idea of, was there another type of soldier they were trying to make, with Clone Force 99 being the sort of template. And then now, like, sort of looking to the future, we have the final episode called Plan 99. And I'm like, is this the hint? Is this Plan 99? This idea of this new sort of type of elite automaton clone trooper.
Yeah. Viciously loyal automaton clone trooper.
And also just a little history, just like a little, like, where this is set in the timeline. The 2017 Vader comics happening at the same time. I just want to point that out, because, like, clone troopers in there and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, again, like, this truly is like the where a lot of the Empire will begin sinking its teeth into some of their more awful and just tragic for the galaxy behaviors. One of my favorite things about the new canon, I talk about this a good bit, is like, and this is just something I love in general. Like, I love when a relatively straightforward, like, fandom franchise, whatever you want to call it, has, like, a really terrifying, subtle, in the background plot line going on. Stuff like that is why, like, I, as embarrassing as it is, as much as, like, my friends like to make fun of me for it, like it's that kind of, like, exactly where this is going. It's why, like, in high school I had, and briefly after high school, like, a really deep, like, fucking Five Nights at Freddy's moment, because I'm like, there's like a really horrifying, like, subplot here, and it's a mystery, and you got to get to the bottom of it. And I just love that, like, horror in the background, horror by way of implication, that you can track from about as early as the Bad Batch to the Rise of Skywalker, like, where it is just these beats and these moments that are hurtling towards this cosmic horror that is the undying Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and while he's already creating this sinister army that we know the atrocities that they're going to commit down the line, like, that is bad enough. That is evil enough. But on top of that, on top of the atrocities, we also know, like, the again, just the unspeakably unsettling, dark nature of Palpatine's true grand plan. And it isn't to conquer the galaxy, it's to conquer death. It is to live forever and subjugate all across eternity. And it's just so chilling. And again, and it's episodes like this where you see him, like, assembling his, like, most, in theory, like, hard to defeat soldiers. Like, if he's setting the groundwork here for the Dark Trooper stuff, like, I think a lot of us are on board for. What did it take to take out, like, a platoon of Dark Troopers? Luke goddamn Skywalker. Like, barring the arguably the greatest Jedi of all time coming to the rescue, I think it's a pretty safe bet to put money on the Dark Troopers in any other situation. And, it's a calculus that Sidious would be right about if it weren't for those pesky, Jedi and stuff. And it just adds to the depersonalization that the clones have to go through as well. Shea Frillis Productions, a YouTube channel I enjoy. Good wishes and love and prayers to him after his recent car accident and stuff. But his YouTuber I really like. And I haven't watched him in a minute, but one of his videos popped into my recommended feed today. And it was about, like, how Star Wars has cultivated Order 66 into being, like, the Flashpoint. you know, and like truly hammering home, this was the turning point. This was always what was going to change the galaxy forever. And that for the general audience in 2005, you watch this and you watch these, obviously we know they all had names, but to a normal person, you know, these unnamed Jedi being gunned down by these unnamed clones. And it's like, oh, wow, this is really bad because we just saw a bunch of people die. But also as the audience, we're not super invested. And then you get Clone Wars, and then you get Bad Batch, and then you get Fallen Order, and then you get this, this, all these other stories that come back to Order 66 as this like act of violence heard around the galaxy.
It's the shot heard around the world. It's Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, like it permanently changes everything forever. And you continue to see the tragedy of the clones. You know, like I forgot, like watching the video essay, I forgot the most like just dark and fucked up part about the clone who knew too much story arc. I forgot that all the clones have nightmares about Order 66 before they do it. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
And when they brought that up, like again, post season 7 of Clone Wars, post like seeing what we've seen of Order 66 in the Bad Batch, Fallen Order, Book of Boba Fett, we're going to get more in Mando. That like I had this moment where my gut kind of like fell into itself, and I was like, it's just so inescapable.
Yeah.
They're damned to this. And seeing Chuchi, you know, pick up the torch.
The tapestry.
It's the tapestry, baby. We all owe Alden a quarter now. But the seeing Chuchi pick up the torch of like trying to advocate for clone rights is just so moving. And you know, with E.K. Johnston, take her or leave her, all of the stuff with her notwithstanding, but just bringing up like something that is within her Padme trilogy, that like Padme, when she died, had like drafts of legislation in the chamber all about clone personhood that never saw the light of day, obviously, because she was dead. But like she had like bills to do exactly what Chuchi's advocating for. And you know, it is the tragic irony of Star Wars, because of its non-linear storytelling, that we already know, you know, because of stuff like Obi-Wan, that there's going to be a member of the 501st homeless holding his helmet out begging for change.
Yeah.
On a shithole like Dayu, you know, it is this like endless tragedy, and it almost feels like something as triumphant as, you know, one of my favorite legend stories, like Labyrinth of Evil. You know, I talk about it all the time. Like it's the stories where you realize the Jedi came this fucking close to cracking this wide open.
Right.
Chuchi and the Batch and Rex came this close to doing something to avoid something like what will end up being catastrophic. We're always asking, where did all the clones go? What, like, and again, obviously the accelerated aging, you know, like we see how old Rex is by Return of the Jedi, but like, god damn, where are all of them? How is there only like 4 rebels, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's really upsetting.
Yeah.
And then you see stuff like this, and you see stuff like this weird not trooper assassin, and you start to wonder, like, how phased out were the clone troopers, and how repurposed were they?
Or how many were purged?
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's one of my bigger questions at this point, is like, I've always wondered, and I've always chalked it up to, you know, the real world answer of George wrote this wildly out of order for the parts that he was involved in, and the accelerated aging, and kind of left it there. But like, the Empire's conspiracies and the way that they just kind of lay on top of each other has always been something that fascinated me, and something that doesn't get explored enough, in my opinion. And
I mean, that's the amazing thing about just where we are with Star Wars, in terms of, you know, both having this nonlinear sort of aspect of, you know, we know things like even with this bill itself, like we know the stormtroopers are created, but we still have this glimmer of, oh my God, they're going to stop it. even though we know, like we know it can't work. But yeah, it's like the amazing thing with like Order 66, the Rise of the Empire. We get to even now for, you know, 20 something or no, almost 20 years later, continue to unpack this event and add layers to it and add, you know, like again, like, yeah, how many times have we seen Order 66 sort of recontextualized in just, you know, the past couple of years? And it's an amazing thing and an amazing ability for Star Wars to have, and always be able to change how we perceive what came before. And it's I think to me just one of the endlessly sort of rewarding things of what this storytelling can do. And it you know, it's fun. It rewards the sort of long-termism of, you know, the investment. Like, you know, obviously you can walk into these episodes and have a good time, but like how much more fun is it when we saw Senator Chuchi in 2008, right? Like we saw her come to the stage. And so like it's a continuously special thing, even though it hurts all the time when they're like, oh, you got some more Order 66 in you. It's like, 'cause we do. So yeah,
roll it again.
Exactly. And it hurts, but it's worth it. And I think there's a type of cynical fan out there who will be like, you know, well, they're just continually pulling at the Order 66, you know, emotional baiting strings. And it's like, are they, or are they just like continually unpacking and adding new layers? And just it's like it's telling you more and more and more about how the galaxy was, how it changes, who it changes.
I don't think, and one of the things I think is really important about Order 66 is we've never seen it depicted the same way twice.
Mm-hmm.
Revenge of the Sith, like baseline, like white bread, original recipe Order 66 is here are the Jedi. We as the filmmakers have shown you time and time again. You know, Coyote Mundi has a few lines of dialogue here and there. You see Plo a lot. You see Ayla a lot. Like Stas Ali is the only person who you really don't get a whole lot from, other than just being the person on a bike who gets shot up. But so you go through Clone Wars, and then like I said, 3 of the people who die in the Order 66 montage are given a lot of character, a lot of personality, Plo Koon especially.
Mm-hmm.
So now you watch Clone Wars to the end, and then you go back and watch Revenge of the Sith. Damn, Kai went down. Damn, look at how they did Ayla. Oh my God, Plo Koon, this noble Jedi hero, dies so unceremoniously. You know, like that's
the other thing in Clone Wars, we like specifically get a lot of Plo in the cockpit action too.
Yeah,
you know, wing manning with his clones, and then it's like they shot him down.
They shot him down. They shot him down. Yeah, and it's like
damn.
Being that is a fantastic observation, but even in the opposite direction, like for me, I always looked at Plo's death as, you know, like Coyote Mundi, you know, gets to go out like in a blaze of glory. Like he takes a couple clones with him,
mm-hmm.
and he puts up a fight. Ayla Secura is just brutally betrayed.
Yeah.
Plo Koon just has 2 clones, just kind of right back at him, and it's so unceremonious.
Yeah.
So you're seeing like the act itself.
I think there was concept like storyboards where was it Luminara getting like stomped on by a walker?
I think it was Barris.
Was it Barris?
Yeah.
I was like, that's a rough way to go. That's a real
rough. There's a long list of Star Wars deleted scenes I'd like to reinstate. That is not one of them.
Yeah.
The one I'd like to reinstate just for the meme of it is the "you clones make terrible Jedi." I just love that.
Oh yeah.
The disguised clone troopers, which are not in any version of Revenge of the Sith except for the Lego game.
Yep.
Which is fantastic. But no, So you get that, in Fallen Order, you see like the very personal way it affects Cal's relationship with the Force.
Mm-hmm.
In the way that Cal like puts all of that on him, he blames himself. He blames his perceived incompetence for Jaro Tapal's death. So he puts all of that on him.
Like very short relationship with the clones, and it's still hit.
Yeah, that they all treated him like a little brother.
Yeah.
And then you get to like how we see it, how I think we'll see in a Book of Boba Fett, or that we kind of see in Book of Boba Fett, that we see this glimpse of in the Mandalorian trailer. This is being recorded like 20 days out from Mando season 3. But like it's almost like this glorious last stand.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even glorious, but like it's still harrowing, it's still tragic, it's still depressing. But like you see the way these Jedi are standing tall, defending Grogu. That they're like, we will fight to the last night in this temple, which is different from how it's depicted in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Which, not to be crass, but like there's a reason why when Obi-Wan came out, like they slapped that content warning on it, because that version of Order 66 is portrayed like a school shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So like you have everything from like the montage, like the cinematic montage, to the interpersonal trauma, to the Jedi Alamo, to like this act of like bloodthirsty terror. None of them are the same. You get it like we see in the Bad Batch. Like you just see like a kid run away, and we know, because we know Kanan's journey, we know how much of an inciting incident this is for him. And so often, at least for me, I focus on the Jedi side of it because that's always what I'm more interested in. I think it's part of my barrier of entry to the Bad Batch is that I've never been a big clone guy. Like most people I talk to have a favorite clone, and they ask me mine, and I say Rex, and I go, and I know Rex is a basic bitch answer. Let me make it more basic bitch for you. It's because my favorite character is Anakin Skywalker. Like. I can't pretend to have like a hardcore favorite clone. This show is starting to change that for me. This show is slowly but surely making me more of a clone guy. But until stories like the Bad Batch is when I've like, and like the clone conspiracy or not the chip conspiracy arc in TCW, that is, and Bad Batch, I am starting to like have a more heartbreaking relationship to the clone side of it. Not that I've never acknowledged it or noticed it, but
it's
like
never hit you.
It's starting to affect me more.
Yeah,
it's really starting to affect me more.
And that's by design, I think, right?
Like of course. Yeah.
It's though that we've never gotten to explore the clone conundrum of who am I when the war I was bred for is over. Right. And that's what this is doing. That's what this show is.
Yeah.
And in so many ways for a lot of different clones too. So I think, yeah, it's one of those things where like I've always enjoyed the clones a lot, especially with Clone Wars. So, and like the Bad Batch, I was lucky enough to be in Celebration 2015 when they screened the animatics of the original Bad Batch arc. So I've always they've always been very special to me since all the way back then. So I've always sort of been connected to them just as a group, as a concept. But I think the way they've now toyed with emotional stakes of who they are, like what are you here for? I think that is a really powerful thing that I think will help people in your sort of background of they weren't really my thing. I think it's about opening that door and letting people really know what their deal is.
I could not agree more. Before we get to the end here, one last thing I would really want to talk about. Absolutely Thrown for a Loop by Echo. Peacing out.
Yeah. I mean, Jared, I know you and I off air have talked a lot about how even though for a character like Echo who at once has had very little character development and at the same time has had a lot of character development for a clone. You know, you and I talked off air about how you really liked seeing the side of Echo that sees what the Empire is doing in such a short amount of time and keeps looking at Hunter and saying, we should be doing more. Like what we're doing right now is a necessity and a necessity only because we chose to bring Omega along. And like, I'm good with that. Like we made our bed, we're going to lie in it, but like we should be doing more. And I think absolutely you're right. Like it threw me through a major loop, but after a second I was like, oh, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Like I'm surprised that it happened this abruptly and that there wasn't more of a build up to it, but I'm not surprised that he left to help Rex.
And it's so organically abrupt is what I love.
Yes.
And like, and I feel like, and I'm sorry for cutting you off,
go.
Like I feel like we're watching that happen from Omega's perspective in so many ways. Because the entire batch, everybody has a goodbye, pat him on the shoulder, give him a noogie, slap him on the ass type of moment on the way out. And Omega's like, what the fuck do you mean? What? Huh? What?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, it's reflective of life, right? It's reflective of life and how things happen to us that force decisions to come to be made. And I think that's what's always been so fascinating about Echo as a bad batcher specifically. He's not one of them. Even Omega's more one of them than he is. And he was there because he was a misfit. And then it's like, who is Echo? Like, who is he really? And you go back to rookies, and Captain Rex was the one who saved his life, and this is their connection. He was there at the Citadel with them, Camino, blah blah blah. And I think it is one of those things where it's like it felt like something that would happen later, but it also feels right. And I think that's what's such a cool thing about Echo, and just the idea of who is this guy who never really kind of fit in, wasn't like out of place, but he is different. Like Hunter will, or the Bad Batch in general will be like, the regs, we do our own thing. And he is both reg and batcher. He's an ARC trooper. Like he thinks of things differently, the way Hunter would probably not think of his place in the Grand Army. As more, like Hunter would not see himself as part of it as much as Echo probably would. So when Echo's out here looking for what Rex is up to, being obsessed with, how can I also help my brothers more? Like the Bad Batch doesn't have that relationship to the clone army.
Yeah, they don't have that answer for him.
Yeah, and so when it comes down to it, it makes total sense. And I think by doing it, he signed his death warrant. I think
you're right. You're absolutely right.
I have a feeling
it's going to happen to Echo now.
I feel like we'll see him again. I don't know why.
He'll show up again.
We will.
Yeah, we will for sure. But
so we can watch him fucking die.
Exactly, because we know we have to know that Rex.
Several times.
Yeah, this is already his second chance at life. He's going to make it count, and I think we already know. We put enough pieces together. Whatever Rex is building is going to get wrecked. It's going to get wrecked to smithereens, to the point where they're like, we're going fishing, we're out of here. And and so yeah, I think Echo's going to be a part of that. I think Cody could be a part of that, and they could all just eat it in a horrible way, and it's going to hurt. You thought Order 66 hurt, we got Order 67 now, and it's going to hurt some more.
Well, and I love, again, and these are one of my, I hate sounding like a dude, bro. They should have just adapted Battlefront 2005. But I was a little disappointed that Topeka City went down by just being basically carpet bombed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wanted a fight. Yeah, I wanted to watch clone troopers shooting stormtroopers in the fucking throat. And I love the idea that Rex is building a clone rebellion, because you get a story like that. It just happens in a different order.
Location to be determined.
Huh?
Location is to be determined, but it'll happen.
it's a similar conflict, and I just oh man. And again, like
about you were saying like how organically it happens, even though it's unexpected, it's totally organic. I love the fact that all Hunter says is more or less, remember what I told you. That's it. Like that's all he says. And like we know and he knows, and you're absolutely right, Jared. It happens almost like we're watching it from Omega's perspective, but it that gives it such an organic. They don't draw it out. It's just like very matter of fact. The boys know, and Omega's like, what? But at the same time, we're still in on it a little bit.
Unspoken conversations are always so good in any like facet. Like one of my favorite ones is the Rey and Chewie telephone. Yeah, that's perfect. Like it can be whatever you want it to be. It can mean what you need it to mean. You just know that it's very meaningful to who exchanged it.
Yeah, well, it's just in this case, we get enough context to know that what Hunter's saying is, if you ever feel like you don't belong someplace, you're still welcome here. It's like from like way back in the Clone Wars Bad Batch arc that convinces him to join in the first place. Like we know and the characters know, but like Omega doesn't know. And so if you're watching Bad Batch for the first time, it's exactly what you're describing, Nicky, where it's like it can mean a number of different things, but the best stories that happen the most organically aren't the like, remember what I told you, kid, you know, like follow your dreams and like all the cheesy goodbyes that you get. Like this is just so succinct and to the
very
point.
Authentic to them,
and it's like all the Batchers believe that what Echo is doing is right by him and right by them. Mm-hmm. And they also believe like this isn't over. Like he'll be back. Like we're fine letting him go because we know he'll be back.
And I think the part of Echo's goodbye that like really affected me the most, because like
Omega's reaction killed me, man. I was crying like a baby.
Omega's reaction is hard to watch. The thing that like affected me the most, and you know, we have lots of, you know, friends and fellow hosts and creators who are parents who, you know, relate to the Bad Batch and Omega a lot. Remember Din and Grogu. Watching these stories from the perspective as a parent. And I don't have that, obviously, but I do know what it's like being... Okay, let me put it this way. My little sister was born when I was like 13. So there's a wide age gap between us. And my brother's only 3 years younger than I. So I have witnessed many, hey, little one, I know you want to be in the room, but like there's a grown-up moment of metamorphosis happening right now that like you're not equipped to really witness and be in the room for. So we need to have a complicated conversation that you're not present for. That by the time we're done having that conversation and we figure out what we're talking about, we can then give the kid-friendly version of it, you know? So, like, it really affected me because I realize at the end of the day, not to infantilize Omega, because she's incredibly capable, obviously, but, like, that there was clearly a conversation that was had out of an earshot of Omega.
Yeah.
Where Echo took them aside. Or or however that happened, where Echo's like, I'm staying with Rex. I have to take the fight to the Empire. I have to help our brothers. I got to do my thing. And knew that if he just said that in front of Omega, that she could not process it.
Mm-hmm.
That she would need to watch the other clones lead by example. And I'm getting choked up talking about it. But like it is just so affecting and beautiful.
Yeah. I also, a lot of me like sort of also wonders where it's like, is it a case of also, you know, if he went to Omega before it was done and dusted, like, you know, he hasn't cleaned out his locker yet, right, so to speak, and he went and he told Omega he was leaving. Is there a thing that pulls at the heartstrings that says, don't leave us? It's like, it's almost like he had to commit. He had to make sure it was over, all the, you know, everything was accounted for, and then he could tell her, so that it's not there's no doubt left, right? Like,
yeah,
it's like that's another thing I sort of just feel like Omega has a way to their hearts that nobody else does, and it's almost like would Echo have even like had doubts about leaving if he had talked to her before he'd even settled everything away.
That's another fantastic point. But yeah, anything else for Echo leaving or the episode as a whole?
Omega's Pantoran poncho.
Yes.
Top class costuming.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Listen, I am when it comes to Star Wars, I am not poncho sexual. I know people love Star Wars and their ponchos. I think it is my least favorite piece of costuming that we see.
You got to respect an ornate design, though, Jared.
I do. That's what I'm saying. Her poncho. I don't know why I'm doing Trump hands. It's a great poncho, people. It's a great poncho. People are saying it might be the best. But no, it's a pretty poncho. It's one of the reasons why I'm so excited for Jedi Survivor. You can collect jackets and not fucking ponchos. But
Cal's about to be decked out in a Roosevelt.
Too many things, BD.
Hey, Roosevelt wore ponchos too.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
Nice.
I got confused for a moment.
That was good, Spencer.
Before we go, Nicky, where can the lovely people find you and all that you do, buddy?
Alrighty, you can find me on the twitter.com at Naquicious, Naquicious. You can check out the Imperial Senate podcast for Star Wars talk. Show's been on a bit of a break for a while, but there's always the back catalog. You can also check out the One and Done Film Club. That is an exploration through franchise blockbusters through by the way of film commentary. I do that with my good friend Reed and Alden, who I'm sure most of you probably know. Then you can check out A Rewatch Between Worlds on Octa Radio, a full watch through of Star Wars Rebels and the Rebels Recons, also with Alden. And then every now and again, I show up on Casterly Talk to talk Rings of Power, House of the Dragon, Willow, whatever else it be with Alden and Ken Knapsack. So you can check all those things out online as well.
Absolutely. Nicky is a fucking mensch. I love him. Thanks to a lot of mutual friends, I've finally gotten to know a great deal of the Imperial Senate pod crew over the past year, and I've been very happy to because y'all rock.
Thank you. And the feeling is extremely mutual.
Oh, hush. Spencer, where can the lovely people find you, buddy?
You can find me on Instagram at SpenceBand Yep. That's about it. Connor?
That was brisk.
Twitter and Hive, both at Depa Banana. I talk Star Wars and Philly sports. Go Birds. I co-host also at For the Republic Pod, a love letter to Star Wars animation. We talk Star Wars animated shows, but we're also going through the current shows such as The Bad Batch. You can check out our back catalog where we talked about Andor, Book of Boba, Obi-Wan, and Clone Wars. We're currently going through season 1, hoping to finish it soon. I co-host.
Can I make a request real quick, Connor?
What's up?
When you get to the Lawless, which I know is a ways away for you, can you have Spencer and I on?
I'll put in a good word. Probably tonight too. I co-host and write trivia questions for Star Wars in a Galaxy Epic Confrontations. 2 out of the 4 people. Actually, no. Yeah. Everybody every person on screen has competed in an epic confrontation at some point.
I don't know what defeat tastes like.
Nicky
yeah, and I've beaten everybody on that side of the screen as well.
Yeah.
It's really fun writing trivia questions and doing all that. It's a really fun league. You can check out our catalog on our past matches over at the Star Wars in a Galaxy podcast YouTube channel. And then you can check out sweditorIG.com/fiction. Over there, I write articles, which I haven't written in forever, but I also mainly help create Star Wars fan stories, a connected universe of them We have about 19 published stories with many more on the way. I don't have any published yet. I do have a few in the works, mainly dealing with the Ginger Boy, Cal Kestis. One of which is coming out in April. It is called A Knight's Welcome. And in that story, Cal will encounter a mysterious being and figure out secrets of the Force he once thought impossible.
No shit.
It's very short, too. It's like a 6-page script.
Somehow, Terran Malicos returned.
Somehow.
Absolutely. You guys can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552. And you can also find me on Ionized Bastards, a Star Wars TTRPG show on the All Remaining Systems YouTube channel. I play a swashbuckling Dark Jedi named Fabian Martell with a mysterious past. Highly recommend it. If all goes according to plan, that's exactly what I'm recording right after we get done here. So go check that out. We have our most recent episode out. Cool. I literally, just as I said that, got a message from Michael that we are in fact recording tonight.
There we go.
Nice.
That was on
Go
cue. That was on cue. Not rehearsed. But yeah, Ionized Bastards, All Remaining Systems. Check that out. Our season 1's wrapping up here soon. According to Michael, we only have a couple episodes left. Pardon Naya barking her ass off. Also, Star Wars in a Galaxy Epic Confrontations. I have a match that is being taped this Sunday. I'm going head-to-head against Kentucky One Kenobi, Bill the Thrill Sheehy. I'm here to complete the Skywalking Through the League set. And my first official match in Epic Confrontations, because Eli's always cooking the books and trying to find ways for his favorites to win. Somehow, Trey got the wrong set of questions in round 3. I won by TKO in the first place, and then we went, we're going to let Trey try again. So he got TKO'd a second time in one match. It was wild. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I don't know when the match will be out. I have 2 matches, actually. I have Bill that we're taping on Sunday, and then later this month, a Legends exhibition match where I'm going to get revenge on one Alden the Iconoclast Diaz.
There we go.
And as a little bit of sizzle, it's been confirmed Scotty J. Rowe v. the Dark Jedi rematch happening in person, live in New Orleans. So buckle up for that. But yeah, other than that, you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon. Give me $1. Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Keandre Lloyd. And
so relatable.
I know. Keandre, we did a live stream review of Multiverse of Madness with multiple fan bases and comic book cast, and we were just talking about theater reactions. Keandre linked us that video in the live chat. We watched it happen live, where he was just some lunatic did a backflip opening night of No Way Home on TikTok. And then he immediately joined at the $10 tier and asked that to be his drop when he became a patron. And I was like, say less. Speaking of some of my favorite patron drops, thank you to Paco, a fellow policy wonk who on our Patreon goes by $1.5 billion, baby.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
One of my highest points of pride is the fact that I got Paco into Knowledge Fight just by incessantly talking about it on TNAP and Nights. Anyway, speaking of TNAP, expect a trailer roundup podcast out early next week. We're going to be talking about all the trailers we get for Super Bowl Sunday. So we're going to be probably going to skip the Ant-Man trailer just because it's really close and I don't want to talk about any more about Ant-Man trailers going into the movie. But the Marvels, The Flash, Indiana Jones, and more, all going to be talking about that on TNAP. So stay tuned for that. For our patrons at the $5 tier and up, the first episode of our season 4 of the Patreon Versus series is out now. That is Lord Starkiller versus Obi-Wan Kenobi. Had a lot of fun recording that one with Spencer. It was a very fun matchup. Made me go back and replay some more Force Unleashed after I was done with it. And then hopefully next week, we're going to try to find the time to record episode 2, which will technically be the February episode, which will be Qui-Gon Jinn versus Ahsoka Tano circa the Siege of Mandalore. So $5 tier and up, you get access to our immense back catalog of Versus content, as well as a couple other pieces of Patreon exclusive material. The currently on hiatus TNAT Movie Club. All our audio commentaries are up there, as well as a couple episodes of Heroic History 101, a show that Travis and I desperately want to bring back when we have the time to do so. But with all that said, please consider checking out our Patreon. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, leave a review, do all the things. Nicky, thank you for joining us. Check out Casterly Talk One and Done Film Club, Rewatch Between Worlds, and Imperial Senate podcast. And also whenever I inevitably put his ass in the dirt in Epic Confrontations. I'm sorry, everybody's got to get the smoke. Everybody's got to get the smoke at some point.
We'll see.
But with that, we are honored that you have joined us, and may the Force be with you always.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar.